So this is Kelsey and CJ from Live a Life of Play. And right now we've got Melanie hanging out with us, and we would love to hear about her journey, both with SFM and then just what you're creating with your life. So just to start off with, in terms of how you arrived at SFM, like, was there something missing there for you? Like, what made you hunt that out, or how'd you come across that?
Mine's a bit of a long old journey, but essentially, in a nutshell, I've been trying to find something, excuse me, for probably about 15 years. And I started in my late 20s. I realised my mum and dad didn't have much money and didn't have a pension. So at that time, property was on the boom, and I basically started off doing a property development course and dragged my brother into it, and we ended up getting into property. We bought 3 properties, rental properties, and in 6 months, with none of our own money, you could actually do it back then. It was unbelievable. And I thought, this is it. I'm on the up. And then it was quite a struggle because we used credit cards and loans and all the rest of it. There was a lot of refurb work, and there were some downtimes. So actually it ended up being robbing Peter to pay Paul for a good 12 months or so. And then we got those up and running and successfully. And then when we lost my dad in 2006, my mum and dad had got this dream of having a place out in Spain. And I was getting a load of stuff on email about properties in Spain. So we went out and had a look at some and thought I was ruling the world and all the rest of it. And we ended up buying 2 apartments in Spain, which was just before the economic crash. So we bought them in 2007 and we rented them out.
You froze.
Oh,
there you go. You're good.
Awesome. You're back. All right, cool. You were saying you rented them out in June, I think?
Yeah, so we rented these Spanish apartments out just about, but it was an absolute nightmare in terms of getting people, and we got ripped off by everybody we tried to use, and it was just hell on earth. And then the recession hit. I ended up out of work and realised how completely overstretched I was. And in the end, opted to go into a debt management scheme because I had so much crap on me. And basically, we lost the places in Spain. So that completely stunted my potential in the UK for property, but it also paralysed me with fear because I almost went bankrupt. I had to tread a lot of water to not go bankrupt and not lose the properties that I'd already bought over here. So I managed to get through it. And this is a long answer, by the way.
Yeah, this is great. This is
perfect.
Some good background.
Okay, so we've got 15 years here, but no, I'll keep it brief. And then basically through that time, I got married, and then realised I didn't want to be married. So that eventually came to an end. He finally left at the beginning of 2014. So it was a kind of a weird one. I'd sort of come through this whole paralysis from nearly going bankrupt and realising I didn't want to be married. So if you can imagine the whole emotions and the turbulent, and it was just, I wasn't very productive, put it that way. And it wasn't until me and him separated and he was out of my life that I then had the space to be able to get back to who I was. And so I started to see some videos from Stuart Ross, and I saw them for about 18 months, and I completely ignored them. The time wasn't right, whatever. And then it was August last year, 2017, when I saw the video with Luke Parton, and it was the right time, and there was something about Luke that was very authentic, and it wasn't American razzmatazz, no offense guys, but you know what I mean. And also, you know, like Stuart, I was ignoring because he was on this pedalo in the middle of the ocean, and I just thought, oh, it's another one of them, you know, and all that sort of stuff. So it was a combination of things, but ultimately the time was right for me. My mental state was back where it should be, and I was ready to rock. So that's the long-winded answer of how I got to SFM.
I love it. What a journey. Thanks for sharing all of that. That sounds like, I mean, to experience, like, we're both going through like the financial thermostat shift right now, and I just can't imagine that stress that you went through, and then being able to rise above it and then dive in again with SFM. So that's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, it wasn't easy, but you know, SFM, I guess the same as how you guys probably felt. When you come across something and you just know in your heart of hearts, it wasn't a difficult decision then at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it like you, it took me 18 months to actually take action on the SFM. I first heard about it in April of 2016 from the lifestyle team.
Right.
And I was like, but it's, you know, I can't do that. It's too good to be true. You know, all those things that we let stop us. So it took 18 months to actually, to watch the 7-day video series from Dan Holloway. And November of 2017 finally is when I was like, okay, cool, let's do this. So I feel you there. But
so you came in under Dan, which is the winning ticket, right?
Yeah, I guess, yeah. I haven't won yet, so.
Well, what's winning, right?
Yeah, exactly. What is winning? No.
Well, yeah, very true, very true.
It's just around the corner. You know, you got to put in the time, right?
Yeah.
And the work. You got to put in the work.
Yeah.
It's bigger than the time. Yeah, it's the work. But so I think you touched on it. And I would just like to expand upon it more. But what is your, you know, we hear a lot of like in the SFM community, we call it the why. Like, what is your why? Like, what is your why to continue forward? Like, what is your driving reason behind taking this giant risk and doing all this work that other people might think you're crazy to do? And like, what is your
fuel?
What's your fuel?
Yeah, well, it's kind of changed over the years, which is probably why I started back with the property stuff. So my why back then was, there was two things. One, I didn't want to be rowing about bills every night like my mum and dad used to do. I've always had that ever since I was a kid. So that's always been a driver for me. Two was the fact mum and dad didn't have a pension, and I was petrified that they were going to be, you know, in the crap, basically. My dad was a self-employed bricklayer for a long time. They didn't have a pension. They didn't have any plans for long-term, you know, getting older. So for some reason, and it's always been the way, I'm the responsible one. I mean, I've got two brothers and a sister, but I'm the one that's always gone out and made sure that people are okay and all the rest of it. So there's a sense of responsibility that I've got. And then ultimately, I used to want to be a rock star. I'm a singer. So there's always that element of wanting to get rid of the rat race so I can concentrate, you know, on my passions. So that's in the mix. But I was listening to Guy on a podcast yesterday, and he was talking about he's got such a resistance to people's rules and the establishment and all the rest of it. And I'm very similar to that as well. I work now, and I can't stand answering to somebody else's demands. It's a real thing for me. I mean, I do it and I'll grin and bear it most of the time, although every so often I'll bite. But yeah, I've just always wanted to be my own boss, because the ability to, you know, and not be dictated by 4 or 5 weeks holiday a year and all that sort of thing. You know, I want to be able to do what I want when I want, go wherever with whoever. You know, I've got friends that live all over the world, be able to go and see them when I want, take my mum out for lunch whenever I want, even if it's a Wednesday. Do you know what I mean? It's just all these things that you feel so restricted when you have to answer to somebody else's tune. I suppose that's probably the biggest thing, not having to answer to anybody except myself. And ultimately being able to know you've got the security of the finances, not only for myself, but, you know, my mum's 77. She still hasn't got a pension. I still haven't been able to provide what I was trying to start 15 years ago. You know, my son, who's, you know, he's on his way now, he's 19, and he's got a good job and everything, but I would still like the cushion to be able to, if he needed it, give him a handout, you know, for getting his first property or whatever it might be. So, and also my family as well, you know, my younger brother lives from paycheck to paycheck, and he's absolutely stressing out of his mind because the particular job he's got, which is a factory job, he's got, they had an amazing pension. And I used to worry about it. I mean, it was ridiculously good. And I used to worry about it because I know what pension companies are like. And it's just happened. They've literally screwed them all over. And now he's like, I've just lost 150 grand out of my retirement pot. And he's living paycheck to paycheck. And my older sister, you know, she's never going to be rich. So I would just like to be able to help them as well, get more comfortable. So many reasons. Yeah. But ultimately, freedom and not answering to the man. Those are the big ones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, freedom and family, sounds like.
Yeah. It's very, again, more similarities with us.
Yeah, we definitely have the same goal and vision of retiring our parents. Like, my parents are both self-employed and they just paid off their house, and now they're having to take another loan out on the house, and it's like, no, and no retirement, and they're getting into their mid-60s, and who knows when they're gonna be able to stop working. And just that feeling of also, like, their health, just like any human, is gonna need more attention, and to be able to have, like, the time freedom to, like, show up for them. And then I'm a nurse, and I love Western medicine, and I want to throw every other kind of medicine at them. Be able to support them with all kinds of modalities, and also fly them around the world, because they have so many places that they want to see, and it's getting to the point where it's like, just to be able to give that gift feels so important. It's not even a gift, it's like, I like to view it more as not like an obligation, but like a responsibility that our generation doesn't really, kind of ignores, I feel like, because we have a weird relationship to our parents and older adults, like shipping them off to, like, care facilities. And we want to have a different relationship where we can take care of them, as you said.
I get it.
Yeah,
I have this vision of this country house, big country house, and then it's got a separate building on the land, which is where Mum's going to live. That's what I have a vision of. I mean, she would happily move in with me right now, and I'm like, no.
Right, gotta have some boundaries. You need that solid.
Yeah, there's got to be some space.
Yeah. Perfect.